Hello and welcome to Too Old for This Shite. On this week's show we're going to be discussing and deeply analysing Arnold Schwarzenegger's classic movie The Running Man from 1987. We went back looking at this because there's a new movie coming out from Edgar Wright, so it felt like a good enough time because we were like, what we watch this week?
Yes.
And you're normally kind of like no to Suspiria every week.
Well, you keep suggesting Suspiria every single week, and it's not just Suspiria, it's the old one and the remake, and it's like, let's sit down and watch the two of them. It's like, no, thank you. I do not want.
Yeah, we'll look at them back to back so we can get it away even quicker.
Nah, you're grand, thanks.
But yeah, we went back looking at it because there's a new version coming out, and for people who mightn't be aware, The Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger's version in 1987, was based very loosely on
the Stephen King book.
Yeah,
or was it the Richard
Bachman? It was under the Richard Bachman thing, because at the time there was like publishers had this weird thing where it was like they'd only allow, say, one book release from an author of theirs at a year, because they were like, oh, we don't want to oversaturate the market, which fucking doesn't exist anymore in anything.
Yeah. And what a thing to do for Stephen King, considering how many books has he written? Fucking hundreds.
But that's why he went under the Richard Bachman title, so he could get more books out. And so it's apparently, the thing is, if you look at IMDb, this thing, I was looking at a movie where they were, a YouTube thing where they were talking about the Running Man, kind of like facts about it, trivia and sure, it's all just stuff that's on IMDb anyway. So if you're interested in trivia and stuff about it, go look it up. But apparently the producer who bought the rights for it wasn't aware that Richard Bachman was Stephen King, which I severely doubt. Like, I mean, someone would have said it along the way. Back in
the 80s though, you didn't have the internet to be looking
along the way. It's not like he just was like, oh, I see that Running Man thing there, I'll just buy that off you, and that, here's your money kind publishers and shit, So, I don't know. I don't believe it. Not for a second. But the story follows Ben Richards. I think it's Ben Richards in the book as well. I don't know. I've never read the book. No intention of ever reading the fucking book. But he gets... I suppose to talk about the movie version as opposed to the book. Yeah. The newer version, Edgar Wright's version, apparently is more in keeping with the book. Whereas in Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of it, he was a disgraced... was a policeman or an army guy where he was he was told to shoot a bunch of
innocent civilians.
Yeah, that were in the food right, and he was like, God damn it, I'm not doing it. And they were like, oh well, you're in prison. So he escapes from prison, they catch him and they put him in this reality show called The Running Man, where they hunt down fugitives with the promise that if they manage to outrun the gladiators that are after him, they get like a holiday away somewhere. Or they get
out of prison or something. Yeah. How are they called? The stalkers?
I think they're the stalkers in it, but the main difference from my understanding with the book is that in the book, like what's going to happen in the film, it's the Ben Richards character. He isn't like a fucking superhero or anything like that. He loses his job, his wife turns to prostitution, and his kid is sick. So he enters into the Running Man, which is, it's like you get like $100 for surviving a day, but it's all over the city. Whereas in like Arnold Schwarzenegger's one, it's in a fucking kind of like an underground compound that they have set up. And so you get $100 for each day you survive, but it's like law officials and all, or you get extra money for killing law officials and doing all this kind of stuff. And if you make it to the end, you get $1 million or something like that. And now, big spoiler for the book, and for this thing is going to be littered with spoilers, but it's like a 40-year-old movie. But in the film, of course, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they break into the TV station, they upload fucking footage of him really kind of like what happened, so people are like, oh my god, maybe the government is lying. They don't show any revolts happening, but it's kind of like implied that people are like, oh, we'll turn on it, and they destroy the building and they kill the host. In the book, apparently they offer your man like the position of the main stalker, but he's on some plane and gets into a fight and he says like, no, screw you, fucking kind of, and he flies the plane into the building that hosts the Running Man, kills himself and kills all the people in there because he finds out that his family died along the way. Now, I can't see Hollywood having that ending in the new version.
No, I don't think they could really, I suppose, given recent events and less
well, even
recent
with
events.
it, like, I can't, they're not going to have their heroes kill themselves at the end.
Well, maybe, but they're certainly not going to do it by flying a plane into a building,
Yeah, that's a big one as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a helicopter.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, a spaceship, SpaceX.
A dirigible
thing, yeah. But what did you think going back?
Actually, I was quite impressed with sort of how forward thinking and how prescient the whole thing was as well, because you had this whole, fucking everyone nowadays like, fake news and like deepfakes and AI generated blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. And here you have like exactly that happening. It's like, well, why would the government surely wouldn't lie, and yet they're digitally altering film to show this guy being an absolute fucking horrendous murderer rather than the hero he was, and they do it the whole way through, like, and it's only then that some people start realising, hey, I didn't say that, and yet they have me saying that. Maybe they're lying, maybe they're altering things.
With the AI thing and with that, it very on the fucking money. But people like me, that's been a part of sci-fi since even before, because like propaganda's been around since forever. I think for as long as humans have been around, there's been lying bastards around as well. It's just, it gets to the point now where it's like, what's real or what's not, and that's like a very good, but like, where people are just kind of like, what the fuck, but people weren't aware of the technology then, which is even worse. We're more aware of it now,
and still prone to believe it, like, people are all down their little rabbit holes or whatever, or foxholes I should say, rather than a rabbit hole.
But yeah, it's really good, and I fucking really enjoyed going back watching. I think I was saying too, I forgot all of it. Like, I had it on video when I was young. After it came out, I don't think it was like, I think it was like maybe taped off Sky Movies or something like that. And I fucking loved it. I watched it religiously. But I think this was like Arnie peak time, because Predator came out the same year. So it was just kind of before Arnie turned into like Terminator 2 Arnie. And like the I'll Be Back is in it as well. There's a lot of, it's a very McBain movie from The Simpsons, isn't it?
Bit, actually.
There is a lot of like,
there's a lot of lines in it. Don't tag around.
He was a pain in the neck. And I think what was it? Which one was it? Like, remember when I told you you'd be last? I lied. What fucking film was that? I can't remember. But I thought it was, and like we were saying afterwards, I thought it's one of these things. At the time, it didn't get reviewed well by Robert Siskel and fucking Egbert.
Egbert, yeah. I think it was the whole thing like, gratuitous violence and all the rest. But I mean, if you look at it throughout human history, like you go way back to the Roman times, you got gladiators and fucking people are in like battling to the death for people's sport and amusement. It's been going on for fucking the whole of life.
I would imagine that they probably would not have been ready for the torture porn of the 2000s.
Yes, possibly.
Because like it's very mild. Like the violence in it is very mild. The action is exciting. I think.
Isn't? I mean, he decapitate somebody with fucking razor wire.
You don't see the head coming off around like that. He's trying. Yeah, you do see someone's head exploding at the start of it. But like you fucking see that everywhere now.
Yeah, on Bosco.
Yeah.
But I think it's, it is like you see it. You have a kind of the futuristic ones, or you have like the Hunger Games and all that. You have what was that one? All the Japanese kids on the island. What was that?
Battle Royale. Wasn't Battle Royale the book for Battle Royale? I think might have been from the 60s.
Possibly, but it's there's a grand tradition of like people basically murdering each other for sport or
gladiators. It's like this is what it's like the cast of it. There are a lot of ex wrestlers and stuff like Jesse Ventura's, and Jesse Ventura's brilliant in it, and he's. I don't know. It's tongue in cheek as well. It's meant to be tongue in cheek. It's directed by Paul Michael Glaser, who some people might know as Starsky from Starsky and Hutch. But apparently he wasn't the original. There was like a couple of directors involved with it and then there is one guy. He was involved, and he did, the start of the prison scene. He directed that, but like in the couple of days that he directed it, he went like 8 million over budget.
Jesus,
so they were like, get rid of him. So they got rid of him, and because I think it was Rob Cohen was the producer, he was after working with Paul Michael Glaser before and stuff, and he said, will you just come in and just finish the movie, just fucking do this. So everything was set up, and he just I did it, and it's good. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with the direction.
Oh, absolutely
like
not.
there's
very competent director.
there's like speaking of Suspiria, there's some kind of Suspiria shots I think when they're fighting the gladiators and stuff with lights like red lights and blue lights and things, and that's what really appealed to me as a kid was the different the stalkers and stuff. And like I was saying too as well, I used to play with my Action Force men.
Yeah.
I'd kind of kit bash Action Force men, cut their arms off and move them around to look and kind of like I'll get you Arnold Schwarzenegger. But it was just really exciting, I thought, and it's like still like fucking over 30 years later looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, this is really like definitely look at it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, and again and again and again. But that's the thing. It's like, I suppose it's good commentary on all aspects of society, really, I suppose, because it cuts back, obviously, quite frequently to the game show studio or the game show host is there. And
Killian.
yes.
And he did like, I was going to say Family Fortunes, it's Family Feud over in America. They call it.
But
Richard Dawson, that was his name.
Yeah. But it's, it's the whole thing of like a rabid audience, but like everyone in the audience, they're like normal people. There's like little old ladies and there's like, sort of working class guys, coming in after their day at the office just to watch this thing. And they're all like, he's going over to him going, oh yeah, which stalker do you want? And it's like, my favourite is this guy, release him. And it's like, they're all kill. And it's just kind of like...
And of course,
really
the little old lady where she's kind of like, fuck him.
yeah. But it is, I suppose, it just highlights, I suppose, human beings' ability to just like dehumanize other people.
Well, it is that thing that happens where it's like a stalker gets killed in it, and they're all devastated because the stalker.
They get to know him as such. Yeah, he's a character
like, oh my
that
god,
I
can't believe it. And they're like, it's the first time any stalker gets killed, and of course, Schwarzenegger kills every fucking single one of them.
Yeah,
and they're like, people can't believe it. They're just in shock.
all upset and it doesn't matter about like the other hundreds of people that get killed by the stalker.
But you see similar things happen in the news where there's wars in certain places, and it's innocent people are getting fucking murdered, and then it's like, a soldier that was after shooting a child in the head kind of like, got like a stone thrown at him, and people are like, oh my god, that's unacceptable.
That's absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, eradicate that fucking...
the whole species.
It does just, I don't know, but I think there is a lot of people at the time, like people were, and it's very easy, I think, looking at it, just go, it's a dumb Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie.
No,
but it's not. There is a lot,
huge amount of commentary on society and people in general, and of course, and military power.
Stephen King wasn't happy with because it was like, it's not like my book, but I think at the time they were better to have a more focused, instead of like, this is the thing, looking at the Edgar Wright trailer, I don't know, over a month. I think you're going to have different stalkers every day, or I don't know what way they're going to do it, but it's like where it's just like 3 or 4 of them, it's in an hour and a half. It's enough. You have that as big, but you have your fucking the first act with the escape and all that. Then the second act is really all that, and the third act is them going into the building. That's enough. If you're doing it over a month-long thing, I think there's going to be too many characters in it. You're not going to have the same kind of thing where it was like when I was a kid, where it was like trying to build my own Sub-Zero or Flame Ball, or Fireball, Flame Ball. With that, and like the Buzzsaw on the motorbike. He was... That's,
I know, they were clearly defined characters, and you kind of, you got to know them like the audience did. But I suppose as well, obviously since then, we've actually had TV shows, where they don't kill the person, but it's like, where they're like, okay, we'll give you fucking 24 hours to go and escape, and we'll chase you down. I don't even know what they're called. There's so many of them proliferating.
There's
the hunter, the chaser,
the hunter, stuff like that.
Whatever it is, where it's like people have to try and evade these guys that are stalking after capturing them. And of course, with today's technology, they've got infrared cameras, and sort of a miniature mobile phone goes up. And
we've never actually seen that. We've only seen them on Gogglebox. People don't know what Gogglebox is. It's basically you're watching other people watching television and commentating on it. When it was out the first couple of years, I was
we were like,
Why would anyone? That's so fucking stupid. And now you start looking at it, it's really funny. The English version is really funny.
And it's actually, I think it's quite good to see what's good, because there's a lot of shows we will never watch, but it's good to see what's in the zeitgeist at the moment. There's always like, you know, Criminal Minds or something like that. So
like Killing Eve, they basically covered every episode of Killing Eve.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would never look at it.
No intention of looking at it, but we don't have to because we kind of know what's going on from Gogglebox. We should do a review of Gogglebox.
Yeah, Gogglebox is brilliant.
But but like, I mean, there's plenty of those kind of shows where it is like, you know, okay, as I said, they don't kill the people at the end, but it's like, right, trying to evade capture.
That'll come. But
that's what I mean. It's like we're getting there slowly but surely. It's and like, I mean, sure. Again, bringing it back to, I suppose, like you mentioned, wartime and all the rest. Sure, when everything kicked off with the Gulf War, suddenly we had the 24-hour news cycle.
In the 90s, it was the first time with CNN.
Yeah, and we were actually watching, like, you know, sort of missiles exploding fucking people's houses and stuff like that. You were watching, like, the foreigners running away from the good guys. You know, it was always set up like children's storybook or something like that. There's the good guys and there's the bad guys.
But that's the way that they always justify war, where, like, of course, it's a thing. A lot of times there's no bad guys, they're just like dead fucking innocent people and
that get
people forced into war. It's not like, you know, a lot of the soldiers are not like these fucking evil human beings that decide to join the army to go and kill. And it's not like Cobra Commander fucking recruiting people. It's normally just some poor fucker that's like, alright, you're turning 17 or 18, you're going out to fucking
go and fight years ago.
Something that you don't believe in or understand. But back to the running now.
Yes.
But yeah, apparently American Gladiators got part of the idea from it, like, you know, totally missing the point of the whole thing. But you can see it in it, you know, it had, and as well at the time, I think American TV was very different from a lot of the rest of the world. American TV was like exciting. The game shows were like Jesus, if you looked at Irish made fucking TV shows.
Where in the world?
Yeah. Oh god, they were, and like say even English things they were, and they might be the same, but they were just very dull. Whereas like American things, there's always like
bells and whistles.
The hosts a lot of time were, and like, you know, your man Richard Dawson that was in this, and apparently he was meant to be like very close to the character that he played at Killian. But there was just something about American TV was more, there was more bells and whistles on it, and this kind of captures it, like with the start of the running where they have the dancers and all that, and they have like fireworks, it's a spectacle, and
it's your Saturday night entertainment. But I mean, that's the thing, like, we sort of, you're looking at it and you're going, oh Jesus, that's terrible, and how can people go down that road? But like, you know, people, I think, take glee in seeing other people misfortune or getting hit, because I mean, even from something like You Being Framed to Takeshi's Cat,
they're your favourite TV show.
It's a knockout. You know, all these kind of things where you're laughing at people trying to go through an obstacle course and getting punched off it by some fucking boxing glove on the end of a stick or something.
There's a dehumanization thing going on in the film where it's like, well, they're criminals, and they're like, you know, they make, like, obviously Ben Richards, he ends up becoming a criminal because he defies orders to kill innocent women and children. But I don't think, even if they did frame that in reality, like you see it with like Trump's administration now,
it's kind of like
they wouldn't even need to, like, they just say, oh, they're a traitor.
Yeah.
What did they do? Oh, they defied orders. They wouldn't get it, you know, beyond that, and they'd fucking fret. And people go, that motherfucker, like, you know, how dare he not do it?
Deport people over looking at your phone and seeing a meme on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or what was the latest one? Somebody was deported because they had a photo of a pipe on their phone.
What?
Yeah, like a fucking wooden pipe, and they're like, oh, this is clearly drug paraphernalia. And he's like, it's a picture of a pipe. And they're like, yeah, clearly you're into drugs. And he's kind of like, I have nothing.
Back to Aenor, Gandalf. Oh, no.
But it's just like, it's not even like find it, and like, it could have been his tobacco pipe. It could have been a pipe he carved himself for a fucking Lord of the Rings cosplay. But just the mere possession of, like, you know, information on your phone or something like that. They're like, not drugs, like, get out.
As well, the whole thing about, like, the protesters. It was a food protest, or not a food protest. I think it was a food riot where people were trying to get food from food banks or whatever. Yeah,
but of course that we have to say that because you have to differentiate from today's reality, because there are food riots everywhere in the fucking world, like at this stage.
And it's what, because it's not like there's a fucking shortage of food. It's just they're charging more for it. Like, remember even in the 80s, there was a thing called the Butter Mountain. That's what it was fucking called, wasn't it?
The Milk Lake and the Butter Mountain, Yeah,
where it was, for people that might be from Europe and our age, it was like there was a surplus of butter and milk. So what they used to have was like this government cheese and shit that they give out. And people get vouchers for butter vouchers, wasn't it? And
well, it was they were kind of stockpiling, because if there is a flood of it on the market, then the farmers wouldn't be able to afford like, you know, they basically wouldn't make their living out of it. So it was kind of like it was a weird farmer subsidy, and then they used the surplus then to give out to poorer people and all the rest. So to start again, just market interference, I suppose. But I don't know. Probably
it's just, but like, I mean, that's the way, at least then they were.
Something
like, I mean,
was done.
There is still food surplus. I guarantee you go to fucking any, like the back of any fucking supermarket, and they're just dumping.
Well, at least I see this is in it. Everything is fucking monetized again, because they had to stop doing it for a while, because it was like, oh well, you can't give it to the homeless shelters or anything like that, because what if some of them gets food poisoning and all this. So then what they started doing is there's an app in Ireland, I presume it's everywhere else, Too Good To Go it's called, and it's basically you sign up and they do these like mystery boxes at the end of the day, and it's like £2 or £3 or something like that, and you're kind of like, when they started off, it was a great way for people to be able to buy food that was just about to go out of date. So you'd have the likes of Little Aldi boxing up fresh fruit and stuff like that, a bit of meat, or you'd have like a Subway doing rolls, or Dunkin' Donuts doing donuts or whatever. But of course they're after copping on now. When it came out at first, people were kind of saying, this is brilliant, like you got loads of like really good quality food for a couple of quid, and it was great for people who are kind of struggling to make ends meet. And sure, of course, now they're after copping on, they can actually make money out of almost spoiled food. So you're getting half, people are complaining, you're getting half the amount of food in the boxes, and the price of the boxes are going up. So it's kind of like, even the people who they were originally trying to help, who are just, you know, sort of food insecure and all the rest, all of a sudden it's out of their price range again. And it's like, it's inflating fucking good, wholesome, you know, in-day food for everybody else as well, because if people are willing to pay a tenner for fucking a piece of, I don't know, meat that's going off today, well then if you want to have meat that's not going off until next week,
governments won't do anything about it, because they're getting the tax on it. The more that the supermarkets are and they can blame them, when it gets to the point where people have enough of it, they can say, oh, we'll come in and regulate it. We'll freeze the prices.
I don't think they can regulate it when it comes to alcohol and stuff like that. They set a minimum price,
but they just make it more expensive.
That's what I mean, but they won't like regulate it that there's a maximum price either, which is what they should be doing.
But that's we're living in the dystopian world of the Running Man.
But that's it's all these films like fucking Demolition Man, like Escape from LA, all of these kind of things.
Demolition Man is scarily accurate, apart from the suspended animation shit.
But it's like this is like sort of, all these films are like the worst of the worst that people could conceive, and it's like, well, come join us in the future. It's actually 10 times worse.
Guess what? We have like random places just bursting into flames just from the heat. And it's like places where the Predator wouldn't even go because it's too hot for a predator. So they're like, oh no.
Yeah, fuck's sake. But yeah, it is kind of terrible seeing back, like these were like the worst sort of future dystopia they could come up with, and it's kind of like, oh, just welcome to hell nowadays. Real life is just fucking
it's like
horrendous.
Fuck empathy and fuck caring for your fellow man. But the Running Man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
that's where you'll have people as well. The kind of, I don't know, it happened with games and it happened with comics, where it's like, keep your politics out of our stuff, and it's like, politics are part of everything. Like imagine if you were to do that with fiction. It's like, that's like the Running Man is based on it's criticism of fucking kind of like thing, and they're nearly warnings. But unfortunately, people kind of go,
people don't eat it, and they go, oh, that's entertainment. That would be a great idea. We should have a film.
Just like, oh,
we didn't think of doing that. We should have a game show.
Motorbike with 2 chainsaws. Let's give them 3.
Yes, exactly. But it is. Society just seems to be gone, and I know everyone thinks like, oh no, this is the worst decade ever, but it's just like, we're just seeing the backslide of humanity into a fucking
things do seem
it's
to be
like this trickle
backwards,
down economics is trickling up. It's like it's the mass fucking basically transference of wealth from the regular people to the super wealthy and all the rest. So everyone is just basically going to be
and then the people that stand up and kind of like say something about it, they're either locked up, which is like a sign of totalitarian government, or
deported or whatever,
or they're belittled, and it's like, oh, these snowflakes, and it's like, or the social justice warriors that started off with years ago was that kind of like, or well in the 80s when it was like, it was political correctness gone mad, where it's like, I'm sorry, but if you think these kind of like qualities for kind of like, you know, kind of like being nice towards people and being worrying about people and wanting equality for people are bad qualities. You were just brought up incredibly badly and you're just a bad person. It's as simple as that, like, you know, about it, like, that's it. It's not, there's no other fucking thing about it. It's not a question of politics or whether you're right wing or left wing. It's just, if you have no empathy for humans,
but it is the whole
you're
thing.
just a bad fucking person.
Yeah, just judge society, the old saying of like how you treat your weakest members of society. And it's like, you can see it nowadays, fucking, even the more left-leaning countries, they're all like, no, we'll cut benefits, no, we'll cut this, and it's kind of like, who needs, like, fucking, why do disabled people need money? They can just, like, scrabble around in the dirt like proper peasants, or why do widowed people, you know, any sector at all.
Well, it's like in Ireland at the moment. Ireland at the moment have, like, a massive surplus in the budget, like billions that they'll never... Like, so instead of, like, investing that into stuff like healthcare, housing, which, like, housing is a big problem.
Massive, well, it's
globally, it's a big problem.
Massive problem in Ireland again.
They're just like,
we'll hang on to
we'll hold on to it. Let's increase taxes. Let's do this and let's cut this and let's cut that. So we just have more. And it's like, more for who? It's our money.
Exactly.
The people's
it's the
money. It's not the fucking politicians' money. It's our money, you bastards. Fucking give it to us, like.
Yeah. And guarantee by the time they actually go to find it, it'll be gone. It'll be fucking inflation will have wiped it out, or it'll be gone
it'll be like
some fucking subsidy for banks or something.
I'm not
like
sure.
That.
The news cycle is so quick they know people will forget about it. It'll be just like, oh yeah, no one knows about this and stuff. Like Ireland, for people who aren't aware, the European Commission stood in and they fined Apple, who was basically not paying any
tax.
Corporate tax in Ireland. And they were saying, you have to give Ireland, was it 6 billion?
Oh, it was fucking, I don't know, it was like 21 billion or something like that.
Ireland challenged the European court saying, we don't want it.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's going on?
See, that was Ireland trying to hold on to its like almost, but not quite, a tax haven status. You know, we have our low corporate tax rate, which is why we have
that was even with the low
investment.
tax rate. That's like, no, we don't want it. We don't
okay,
need
Apple is
it.
our booty.
Yeah, let's cut minimum wage and let's it isn't that. But we need someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the Rolling. We need Jesus Arnold Schwarzenegger to come along, that he can be just like, treat others like you treat yourself.
You would like to be treated yourself, yeah. But that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I would have thought he would have been relatively right, not quite right wing, but you know what I mean. He's a Republican. He is like fucking so far left in comparison to Trump.
But see, this is the problem with stuff. When you divide people into kind of like, the right wing and left wing and all that, or Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, it's like putting on football shorts, isn't it? Shouting for your team and you just scream at the other team. Then it's like, it doesn't matter what they say.
Quite obviously, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he did a good job when he was in California from our understanding over here, and he is quite liberal. But there used to be a lot of years ago, it was the opposite. The fucking, what is it, Democrats are like Obama's party. Yeah. They were very right wing up until kind of like, I think it was the 40s or maybe the 50s or something like that. And then they kind of realised, and then it kind of flipped. I think it was something to do with the Civil Rights Project, but there was something where they were saying it used to be like the opposite way around. But like, sure, then what happens is like, all the assholes, they just switch parties. You know, so it's just like party going under a different name.
Assholes be assholing.
Whereas in Ireland, it's now there may as well not be any political party, because they do this thing where they all just chip together and kind of
we've got this kind of voting system called proportional representation, which is meant to ensure that the smaller parties get a seat at the table. It's kind of like trickle down almost voting. But what's after happening is no one party has a clear majority anymore, so they all just band together and go, we'll all go into government, lads.
But the two big ones that used to be kind of like completely in opposition.
Yeah.
So, and there's no difference between them. It's like in fucking oh my god, Futurama. Remember when they're, I'm John Johnston and I'm Johnston John, you know, and where it's just like, it's, and like, I mean, I think
Judean people's front.
I think this is one of the things as well, just bringing it back to the Running Man, that they didn't get into it because I don't think they needed to get into the politics too much. They just needed to show and hint at, like when they're saying, food, a riot, kind of like an over food. instantly, right, things are not good.
Yeah.
You don't need like a big backstory.
That's it, yeah. It's a
talking about-
totalitarian state if they're basically getting prisoners to like run away or be fucking shot, like, you know what I mean?
and as
This
well
kind of a thing.
hard labour and so, but it's all just very clear. It treats the audience like they have a bit of intelligence. They don't need, and as well, just at the time, like you had Margaret Thatcher's England, like
Ronald
Reaganomics,
Reagan, yeah.
going on. So I think people were a little bit more politically aware back in the 80s with stuff, and like, I mean, they are now because they don't have much of a fucking choice. But I think there was a fair few years there where people kind of buried their head in the sand, and that's after leading to the world kind of
The
like
way it is, yeah.
where it's you have like maybe fucking a handful of assholes that are causing like fucking
mayhem for the
so
whole
just
world.
get like Putin, Netanyahu and Trump and just fucking put a bullet in the fucking three of their fucking heads.
Oh,
like,
that's you now getting fucking.
Oh yeah.
That's you getting brought away by the Gestapo and shot somewhere.
I only mean that as a joke. I really like all you guys. But where it's just like, but like in the 80s, that was the whole thing. But even in the fucking 80s, there was like things where like you could stand up and share your political views without unless it was North Korea. Like that was the whole thing about over in America, that America sold itself on the land of free speech.
Yeah. But now you can't even have your own personal your own personal mobile device. Like that's your own private fucking business, and they're still like, no, you must show us all your social media.
Everything.
If you find anything going back over the past 20 years that's anyway critical of anything to do with America, well, fuck you.
I don't know if they did that with yours, and they'd be like, gee, you like cats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You like cats and you have everything magnified really, really large because your eyesight is shit. Yeah.
But I think as well, like the only other, like it reminds me a lot, The Running Man, of They Live as well. Obviously in They Live it's aliens, but there was a lot of stuff in the 80s about that. I think you're going to, although I think sometimes I think people are going to be too scared to make movies of that kind of thing now, or like, oh, we won't get funding for this, or oh, we better not say that, because
and you have to be careful as well, because people will fucking try and cancel it for anything. So if you actually made They Live nowadays, people are like, well, it's clearly about the Jews because they're talking about lizards and aliens and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Fucking, I was going to say David Koresh, what's his name? Fucking, he used to be the football player.
Ike, yeah.
David Ike, yeah.
But that's, you would have like fucking, there'd be people fucking crawling out of every crevice. All the rest kind of going, oh, you can't say that. Oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. And it is, people are so afraid to actually say anything that people end up saying nothing.
Yeah, but people are stupid with stuff as well. People do kind of, you should be able to, like, I mean, the whole Bob Villain thing.
Yeah.
I know people are saying, oh, he's after calling, he should have been kind of like, making peaceful kind of things. He should be allowed to say what the fuck he wants in that kind. If he had to point someone out in the crowd and went, kill that man, and the crowd killed him, then you kind of go, alright, maybe. Kind of like, don't have him at another festival. But he's going on about killing soldiers in another country. Is there someone going to be from fucking Glastonbury? Some fucking 18-year-old fucking girl, like, with her TikTok going to go off over to fucking the Gaza Strip and start
you had
fighting
that, what was her name? Your one that went off over.
Greta Thunberg.
No, the other one that got fucking radicalised and she went off over and joined ISIS, and then she went, oh, don't like it. Kind of
yeah. There was, there was a lot. Personally, I think that girl, maybe they should have went. She was a teenager. She made a lot of mistakes. She's probably after having a horrific fucking time, but as an empathic country, maybe we should take her back in and kind of show this is what Western principles are based on.
Or this is what morals or whatever you want to do it.
Instead of like having her as nearly the face of ISIS, where it's like she was fucking 14 or 15.
Who amongst us haven't done something stupid and outrageous when we were a teenager, but luckily enough we weren't able to finance a trip over to ISIS. I'm sure
like that fucking girl grew up very fast when she was putting that, and I'm sure there was like horrific things happened to her, that probably she'll have to live the rest of her life with.
But it is, going back to the Bob Villain thing as well, I mean, it's my read of that as well, even it's like if you're shouting like, say, kill the IDF or whatever, it's not necessarily kill the fucking this individual soldiers, like kill the concept of this fucking the defence force. It's pointless going in doing this to another country, like, but either way, children.
They should be allowed to say it if they want. It's it's artistic freedom, because you say, right, you're not allowed to say that thing. It's like, all right, you're not allowed to say fucking kind of like, oh, down with it, like over in what's happening in England now at the moment. And they've been building up to this, and they've been doing this kind of thing where it's like, oh, it's only really right-wing people that are opposing this. Oh, smart people won't oppose this. Where it's like, you cannot even... There's people that were just peacefully... An 80-year-old woman priest was arrested for holding a fucking sign that said, we are with Palestine, or something, or we support Palestine. I think there was 26 people arrested for that, and it's like, what's that about? Like, you know...
It is. It's kind of like, oh well, if you've nothing to fear, like you shouldn't worry about these laws coming in. And it's like, you know, every fucking time. Like, I mean, I know I harp on about it, but the minute COVID happened and they started going up, you can't gather in groups. I was like, here we go. That'll never be rolled back. You won't have the right to fucking gather, and you know all of this kind of stuff. Everyone thought we were living in England at the time, and everyone, when I said it, they were like, oh, you're a fucking fringe lunatic. And I was like, watch it happen. And it's like, yeah, there you go.
And this is what, like, fucking, I don't know, we're doing things kind of like long way around. This is kind of what my fear for the new Running Man movie is. I have a funny feeling that, like, I mean, Edgar Wright is a great director, but I think it's going to be more... it's not going to be as dystopian, even though like the subject matter is horrific. It's going to focus more on the action, and judging by the thing of it, it's like fun action. Even though his wife and kid are like having a horrible time, and people are hunting him down, where he's like, oh hey, and like even Arnie in this, like there's the one-liners in it, but they're fighting for their lives, and he's just, it's like Arnie is like vengeance. I think it's like when we're talking about the Punisher, like Frank Castle is vengeance against these fucking people, and like Arnie in a lot of his films, he's like morality, the moral side kind of fucking coming back for
fighting like, for justice.
So there's, you know, so I don't think the new version, that's what I think it's going to be, more kind of like, hey, like, you know, look at this, and kind of like, you know, at the end of the, he'll obviously get to the end, he'll kill the fucking the game show host, he'll shut down the whole thing, and people will probably be like, oh, it'll probably finish on that kind of thing where it's not going to show people revolting or kind of like anything happening. Whereas in the Running Man with Irish, it was nearly implied that your man Killian and all, he was like, you know, just put me on to the president, where it's nearly like that show is like the centre of things, it holds things together. Kind of like, if you get rid of that, you're kind of taking out a big part of like the problem in society at that point, you know, with it. So I don't know how they're going to do it.
We'll just have to wait and see.
But after our political ranting,
random political ranting,
which I think this is what this show is about. We're old people talking about, and this is what films. But this is what films are meant to do. Even like a film like that, some people would see it as a throwaway 80s action movie. It should incite conversation, and kind of like, you don't have to like talk directly about the movie. It should kind of get your mind kind of going, hey, fucking, they're saying that this is bad. Hey, this is happening to me.
This is also bad.
This must be bad too.
Yes, just question things. Yeah. Question your life, question reality, question your leaders.
Yeah, don't question this show over our opinions. We wouldn't like that. Give a good review. And obey.
Yes. On that note.
But yeah, on that note, I think it should be quite obvious to us, are big fans of The Running Man. And like me, we're like going to look at a bunch of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Forget how good those movies were. And it's like great to see that they actually hold up really well, like fucking 30 years later. Like in the 80s, if we were going back looking at John Wayne movies like The Green Beret or something like that, or something from the 50s, you'd be like,
bit old fashioned.
Or like a gangster would like, hey, see. But yeah, Running Man, absolutely brilliant. Go and watch it if you haven't watched it. I imagine you have. But look, if you've gotten this far, thank you very much for listening. We'd really appreciate it. We're just doing this just to talk about stuff and to try and maybe encourage some conversation with other people to talk about movies that we like. So we'll be back next week, and Laura was saying that she's open to anime finally after a long time. So I was thinking about it, and what we'll do, we're going to have to do it now because we're recording it, as Vampire Hunter D.
What was the other one you were saying that you wanted to watch?
Dan the Dan Dan.
No, there is another one again.
I don't know.
Some blue-eyed fucking...
Old Blue-Eyed Samurai, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's a TV show. Well, look at that as well. Vampire Hunter D is only like, it's a movie. Yeah.
We'll see.
Right, so look, see you next week. Talking about Vampire Hunter D. Bye.